SOHCAHTOA, sock it to me. Yeah. Because Trig's awesome. Even though all of you do not appreciate Trig's awesomeness yet.
I appreciate Trig.
Trig is glorious. Now, we were left at this fun little fake word here, and the story I told of my grade 10 teacher and my grade 10 girlfriend, which sounds awful if you just hear that part of it. But really, it's perfectly innocent, and if you weren't here on Thursday, ask somebody else if you care that much, and none of you do. So let us move on. Trig is all the same. So far, you are very Are those erasers, Louis?
No.
Okay. So far, you are all very comfortable with the tail end of SOHCAHTOA, the TOA part. We did lots of work with tangent, which of course led some of you to say, but Mr. Myers, poor hypotenuse was left out. Nobody wanted to play with him. Fortunately, we fixed that, and people did want to play with the hypotenuse, both the cosine and the sine ratio. Other than the name cos, sine, and tan, we follow the exact same method of solving these problems. Find the angle with which we have interest, decide what is opposite, decide what is adjacent, and decide if and when we are going to use the hypotenuse. So in this very first question here, we decided that theta was 12 degrees. That was the angle with which we had interest. And I drew the excellent picture of your handsome gray-haired math teacher. We don't call him old, we call him debonair, sitting right there ready to do some trigonometry. Once he sets himself up at theta, or you set yourself up at theta, you can now name two sides of the triangle. What two sides can you name?
The adjacent and opposite.
The adjacent and opposite. Why only the adjacent and opposite?
Because it's 10.
No. Why are you only allowed to choose the adjacent and the opposite? No, not because I told you to.
Because in the TOA thing, there's no hypotenuse.
You're on the right track because you said the word hypotenuse. What is it about the opposite and the adjacent that allow them to be decided upon, but hypotenuse we do not get to decide upon? Right, the hypotenuse never changes. It is always across from the 90 degrees. No matter where we are in the triangle, the hypotenuse never moves. But the other two do, depending on where we are in the hypotenuse. Choose a color.
Yellow.
Hello? Yes, someone said triangle. It's an attempt to be humorous, but it sometimes doesn't work. Woo-wee! Forever nuts and strawberry rhubarb parfait. All my nuts.
Left.
Left was strawberry rhubarb parfait. I'm a little unhappy with this. I am not a giant fan of strawberry rhubarb anything. So, this is on you.
I will keep calling.
This is on you. Oh, it's a lovely whiff. It smells a little like bubble gum.
Have you ever
That does smell nice. I think you might be in luck.
Oh yeah.
Wait. Oh, I'm not carrying my spoon. Somebody stole my nice spoon, and I've been reduced to that. Do you know how long it took me to eat my chili with this? Too darn long. Eric, 4 minutes, please.
You got it.
Thank you, brother. Ooh, it's pink.
4 minutes 39.
Imagine a liquid that was pink. Is it in your head now? Then you've seen it.
We don't need the document camera.
No, we can't waste time today, guys.
All right. So, you have named the sides. What have you named that side? No. Opposite. The opposite value was x. And what is the only remaining side in the triangle? Everybody says adjacent because you're not actually paying attention. You stopped listening when I said adjacent meant beside. Which is it, Connor? It is the hypotenuse. Because although the hypotenuse is adjacent to my theta, it is also adjacent if theta was up here, so we cannot call it adjacent. Thirdly, it already has a special name. It is the hypotenuse. It doesn't get to have another special name. That's just not fair in our North American society where everybody gets to be fair. So, he's the hypotenuse. Now, we can do trig, because you cannot do trig until you have two pieces of information, either two sides or an angle and a side. Do I have that here? Yes, I have an angle. I have an angle, and I have a side. So therefore, I can do trig. Which of the three options am I going to use here? Sine, SOHCAHTOA, because I have O and H. Now remember, I did warn you that in future, there are 6 options. You only need to know the first 3. Sine, cos, and tan. Sine theta equals O over H. If you write that out, is it possible to do trig wrong? It really isn't. Sine theta. What's theta? 12. Okay. Sine 12 equals O. What's O?
X.
It's X. It's unknown. Over hypotenuse. What's hypotenuse? 25. Now here is the only place you can go wrong. And the only reason you would go wrong is if you don't pay attention to algebra. In algebra, to get x by itself, I must get rid of this divide 25, yes? What operation gets rid of division in algebra? Multiply. So I multiply this side by 25, cancel, cancel, and now x is all alone. If I multiply this side by 25, I have to multiply this side by 25. And now, and only now, do I go to my calculator to enter this. This is trig. Past that, it is calculator. Okay? And how do you enter that in your calculator? That depends on your machine. It is either 25 sine 12, close brackets, equals, or 12 sine times 25 equals. You need to know how your machine works to get that answer. Okay? And what is your answer? I think it's like 5.199 or something. 197. So we are going to write that as 5.2. I know normally I say 2 decimal places, but 197 is so close to 2, we go to 2. All right? Now, what would you do if you had right now a different number showing on your calculator? What should you do right now?
It's tea time.
You should tell me, because it is most likely you are in the wrong mode. Did everybody get 5.2?
Yeah.
So everybody is in the right mode. What mode is that? DEG or D showing on your screen. Unless you have the fancy calculator like Louis has, and then it shows up somewhere else. But I think he is the only person rocking that calculator in this class, and he already knows how to do it, so I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Is everybody cool? Well, I mean, you're all cool, let's be honest, right? You know, you all get extra cool points for just being in this class at any given moment. Damn, that's hot, but ooh, doggy, it's tasty. I'm surprised. Next. What do I know in this triangle? I got theta, and it's 19. Once I have theta decided, now I name the rest of my triangle. What do I know? I know my hypotenuse is x. What else do I know? My adjacent is 40. What uses A and H?
Ha.
Right. Cos theta equals A over H. And all we do is fill it in. And if you fill it in, you can't do it wrong. Cos, what's theta? 19. Oh, look, we wrote it down. It's right there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. What's A? 40. What's H? X. Now again, if you know algebra, you can do this easily. If you're bad at algebra, learn what I'm about to show you and memorize it. It's one of two choices. Either know how to do algebra, which is the useful one because algebra is all over the place, or remember that any time you have something equals a fraction and you don't have the denominator, you just switch places. 40 over cos 19 equals x. Right? Now, how will you know if you did it wrong? If you do 40 times cos 19, you're going to get x to be less than 40. Is that possible? Of course not. Why? Because the hypotenuse must be longer. And yet some of you are going to hand that in to me on a test. Because you will say, my calculator said so. Yes, your calculator did tell you that the cos of 40 times 9, or the cos of 19 times 40 is that number. That is not what you should have asked your calculator to do. Understand the difference? And what is our answer? 42.3 equals x. Does that answer make sense? Sure, it's longer than 40, and 19 isn't a very big angle. So this can't be that much longer than 40. Yeah? I have to believe you were right. I did not punch in. I'm waiting for corroboration from one of your peers. Somebody in the other 30 people in here punched this in and has an answer. Was it 42.3? Yeah. Sweet. It's almost like there's a pattern to it. In this question, what is theta? X. Once I have theta decided, I then know what is that side. Adjacent. What is it? 13. What is that side? Hypotenuse. What is it? 22. What uses A and H? Cos theta is A over H. Fill it in. Cos, hey, wait a minute, theta's unknown. 13 over 22. What finds me an angle when I know the sides? No. Yes, cos and sine found me sides, didn't they? So obviously what will find me angles? The opposite of cos and sine, which on our calculators is shift cos. Theta equals 13. What math do I do to make my calculator do this properly? Because most calculators don't do fractions. What do you punch in instead? Bracket 13 divided by 22, close brackets, and then you get it. What if you have a backwards calculator? You do BEDMAS. Brackets first, shift cos. And what do you get for an angle? 36.2, but we don't like decimals and angles, so 36 degreesels. Did he get it right? Someone corroborate. Uh-oh. You could be in trouble, big stuff. 54. You pushed sine.
Yes, I did.
You silly man.
Yes, I did.
Okay? All right, now listen to me. Listen to me. Upon reflection, because I know I am not perfect, just handsome, funny, and intelligent. Upon reflection, I have made the decision that I have put together your book poorly. The next thing in your book is a bunch of questions about what we just did, even though you just saw it. 2 pages later in your book is a bunch of stuff like this, but requires significantly less work. It's better practice. So, please, in your books, flip to page 61, which I believe is this puzzle sheet. This entire sheet is to be done without a calculator. You will see why in 1 second. I will show you how to do the first box. It will take about 1.5 minutes. Without me speaking, it should take you about 1 minute, and you can see there are 8 boxes. So this should take about 8 minutes. Yes? And I will be putting a clock on you for that. Do not do a thing with the letters at the bottom. Just do math at the beginning. Let's look, shall we? Sine A. I'm going to do that in black. Here is A. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, yes? So, what is opposite to A? 5. What is the hypotenuse? 13. So the sine of A is 5/13. It's right there. So you put a little number 1. Okay? Cos A is adjacent over hypotenuse. What's that? 12 over 13. Do either of those fractions simplify? No, so we leave them alone. Okay? What if they were to be able to simplify? What would we do? We would simplify them just like Mrs. Pat Crumble taught you ages ago. Go for Myers. Hey, how are you? I do indeed. Certainly. Okay. Wow, that's an important person to be phoning for you. Not Berdini, not Sadu, the big man. Mr. Como. Yes, indeed. No, that's Eric. He's going to see Mr. Como. I don't even get called to see Mr. Como, and I'm a troublemaker. I'm just kidding, Eric. Mr. Como's the principal. He's your pal.
He's pretty chill.
He's your pal. That's how they taught us to spell it in grade 3. Right? On grade 3 spelling tests, there's principal and principal. And how did you remember which one was the one at school? The principal, because he's your pal. That was how my grade... I lie. I'm the worst kind of liar. It was grade 4. And that was Mrs. Cherkasov that taught us that. Cherkasov. She was Russian. Well, she wasn't. Her husband was Russian.
How do you remember this?
I remember every single teacher I ever had for every single course, up to and even most of university.
Can you say all of them?
Yes, but that would take time. Now, tan A is opposite over adjacent. 5 over 12. So, 12 over 13, that gets a 2. 5 over 12, that gets a 3. Everybody cool? No calculators, right? You're just looking on the sheet.
Wait. Why does it say like coast? Why does it go A, B, A, B, A, B?
Because they're the same triangle, and in this one, A is your theta, and in this one, B is your theta. It's just to get automatically opposite adjacent, opposite adjacent, opposite adjacent, depending on where you are in the triangle. Okay? This should take you now approximately 8 minutes to fill them all in like this. Then we'll worry about the letters. Go. If you need to talk to your neighbor, talk to your neighbor. It's no problemo.
You're already at 2 ahead. So opposite. Opposite over.
That you have them.
I was right.
Check all your work.
Oh, I see. Why is this taking me so long just to do one question?
And then you can decode it later. It's a funny joke. You don't need to because this is math class, not Code Breakers 10. But if you do wish to find the fun answer to that question, I can. But some people will say, don't tell us, we want to work it out. Okay. What did Mrs. Margarine think about her sister's husband? That he's a terrific butter-in-law.
Oh,
Margarine, butter.
Margarine.
Even though margarine really isn't related to butter, margarine is more related to plastic. But that is beside the point. Yes. Margarine is whipped oil. Plastic is whipped oil. Butter comes from something nice and normal, a cow. But a lot of people can't eat butter due to dietary restrictions, so margarine was invented. All of you should know that margarine in reality looks like Vaseline. It only looks yellow in Canada because we put a dye in it so it will look like butter. If you get margarine in many other countries in the world, it is white or Vaseline colored. No, there is nothing delicious about margarine. Margarine is so gross that one company that makes margarine had to call it, I can't believe it's not butter. Because everybody wants their margarine to taste like butter, rather than just eat butter.
I heard of that before.
But of course, when you're poor, like I was at university, I'd spend 5 years eating margarine. It was a long 5 years.
Margarine costs less than.
Margarine is way cheaper. Margarine is way, way cheaper.
I used to eat margarine by the spoon.
Is everybody Gouda?
I haven't done yet.
Is anybody Swiss?
What's that mean?
Gouda, Swiss. They're both cheeses. Is everybody Gouda? Is anybody Swiss? If you are Swiss, you don't really understand what's happening because there's holes in you. Holes in your understanding? Nothing? When I was a kid and I would watch Tom and Jerry, I thought all cheese was supposed to have holes in it because Tom would always try to catch Jerry with Swiss cheese. Maybe Jerry just didn't like Swiss cheese. Tom should have tried him on something else. Maybe a nice Wensleydale.
I was watching Tom and Jerry yesterday.
What bothers me most about Tom and Jerry is they're friends now for you guys.
Yeah.
Tom and Jerry are friends now. They solve cases together.
For some reason.
Tom and Jerry's mysteries.
Wait, that's a thing.
Tom is a cat. Cats eat mice. They're not friends. But it's 2018, so everybody has to get along. Next page. Please turn over to page 60. These questions will require you to use a calculator, so they will take slightly longer. It's what we just did. So we'll do the first 3, then I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get you to work. What is this order of business? First things first, establish a theta. Do we have one? 32. Once we have theta established, now we name our O's and our A's and our H's. We have an opposite of X, an H of 4. What uses O and H? Gesundheit. Sine of 32 equals X over 4. Is that done? No. What are you going to do to solve that? 4 times sine 32 to get an answer. And I'm leaving it blank because I don't want to get out my calculator. Because this is the trig. This is what you need to know how to do. Because if you don't understand why we put that 4 there and why it's 4 times sine 32, doesn't matter how good you are with your calculator, you're going to tell it to do the wrong thing. Yeah? Great. Number 22 looks different. Do we treat it any differently? No, of course not, because we don't treat things differently based on their looks. Do we have a theta? 57. Once I have theta, I check my O's, A's, and H's. There's an X there, that's an O. There's a hypotenuse. Mr. Myers, I'm having trouble with trig. I know, kid.
For some reason, I keep running SOHCAHTOA so
Sine of 57, x over 22. What's the trig that I do? 22 sine 57 equals. And I get my answer. And the third one, which is the last one I'm going to do with you. Do I have a theta? 20. Now I name my sides. I got an O and I got an A. What uses OA? Tan 20 equals x over 30. So 30 tan 20 equals. Now listen to me. What do you notice about every question on this page? No, we just did a tan. They are all involving what? Triangles. So, let's pretend we're a little later in math and we get a word problem. What should be our first order of business? Draw a triangle. Please notice that in good teacher form, I have given you the triangles to start with so you can focus on the trig. Then I add a word problem to the triangle. You can still just do the trig. What is the obvious next step? Word problems with no triangles. And you have to figure it out. But that won't be coming for a while. So stay cool. Indeed. No, there's a third page, Ash, because this page was all about finding sides, wasn't it? Finding sides, right? Right? What's the other thing we have to find in triangles? Angles. Look at you. You're like Sherlock Holmes. You deduced. Finish this page. Go. Number 7, 5 times tan 43. Number 8, I flip the triangle over, but you still follow the same rules. 70 times cos 76. 20 times tan 48. 1,000 times sine 2. And 9 times cos 55. Okay? And then, of course, whatever those answers are. You will be finding those with your calculators. Okay? Now, I'm going to stop for a moment because we have been dealing exclusively with the sides of the triangle. Now is the time for me to stop everything and ask if there is anybody, and when I say anybody, I mean people that were here for the entire last week that are still very confuzzled. If you weren't here for the entire last week, of which there are a few of you, you should be a little bit confused, unless you are watching the videos. That's okay. We're going to practice this still a lot more before you're actually assessed on it. But if you were here all last week and you are still, I've no idea what you're talking about, now is the time to ask. If you still don't know after that, what should you do on that board under the letter D? Put your name there so you can come here when? X block so you can figure this out. Okay? Okay. Nobody needs to ask about it. Everybody wrote down everything that I highlighted. You wrote it down that way, all 11 of them. Excellent. I must have done a very good job of explaining it. Turn the page over. Ah, the answer's already there. All right. So please notice this time what's different. You are trying to find the angle, which means this is a shift sine, cosine, tan situation. Does anything else change? No. I need that angle, and what do I have? I have O and I have H. What uses O and H? Sine. So this is shift sine of what? 3 divided by 5. Close brackets. What's this one? There's my angle. I have, what's this across? Opposite. What's this up here? Hypotenuse. O and H is sine again. So it is shift sine of 4 divided by 11. Then you get your answer. What about C? Here's my angle. Here will be my angle. Here is my angle. And what do I have? What's that? Adjacent. What's that? Hypotenuse. A and H is shift cos of 5 divided by 8. And I will do the last one, then you will be on your own. There's your angle. You have O and you have A, which is tan. Shift tan, 9 divided by 10. Okay? Okay. The word problems at the bottom cause some trouble. These should take about 2 minutes each. Listen to me, please. Listen to me, please. This is your work for the rest of the day. When it is done, for homework tonight, remember those pages we skipped? Go back and have a look at them. You are going to be quizzed on trig only tomorrow. When I say trig only, that means I will give you the triangles. No word problems, just triangles. Hokely dokely? Hokely dokely. So your homework tonight is whatever those pages were. I believe they were 58 and 59. business. So I left you guys at O. So there's my theta. What's that? H. What's that? A. So that is cos. Shift cos. 13 divided by 15. There's my theta. That's O. That's A. Shift tan. 50 divided by 20. A. H. Shift cos. 21 divided by 30. Theta. O. H. Shift sine. 25 divided by 45. Any problemos with the 8 where the triangle is drawn for you and you have to do nothing but memorize SOHCAHTOA? If you are having a problem with it, it is because you are having a problem reading triangles. Why are you having a problem reading triangles? Because you haven't practiced enough. It's on your data booklet, it's in your notes, it's on the video, and I've said just shy of 10,000 times. Opposite means across, adjacent means beside, except the hypotenuse, which is always the hypotenuse. Now, this page does get a little bit tricky with L, B, R, and T. Driveway is built on an incline, so it rises 3 meters over a distance of 20 meters. A lot of you guys read this question wrong, because when you hear rise, you automatically want to work with rise and this distance. But that's not correct, because if you were building a driveway, the driveway would be the hypotenuse. That's what you would drive on. That's why it's written this way. I need that angle. That is O. That is H. So this is shift sine 3 divided by 20. B, there's a roof. Find the pitch. That's the angle of elevation right in there. That's an O. That's an A. So that is shift tan of 10 divided by, and I'm changing colors because I'm writing over the printing, 10 divided by 16. Now here, the other class got into some trouble because theta is there and you have no measurements there, but you do. How far is this? 36. So how far is, he waited patiently. He continued to wait patiently. He's still waiting patiently. How far is this? 36. How far is this? 16. So how far is this? 16. So aren't those the same triangles?
Yes.
So can't you find this with opposite and adjacent?
Yes.
Which would be shift tan 16 over 36. And then finally the train decreases its altitude by 8, so it goes down by 8 when it goes along the track of 200 meters. Well, the train
That's a really bad train, Mr. Myers.
I'm not done yet.
It's not getting any better.
Let's go away.
That is the worst public train I've ever seen. The boiler is there we go.
The train goes down the track.
Nice train.
I know it. So, isn't that angle the exact same as that angle? Yes. So, you have an opposite and an hypotenuse So that is shift sine of 8 divided by 200. Okay. Okay. What is happening tomorrow? I have asked you to practice, page 59 and 60. I wonder, have I done a homework check in a long time? What? Not since halfway through Unit 1? And here we are halfway through Unit 2? What might happen tomorrow?